Mighty Nation. We're very, very excited to have this gentleman on board, Mr. Ryan Osborne, who is the head coach, the new head coach of Mercyhurst University, NCAA Division II in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'll go through a whole bunch of different questions with Coach today, uncover a whole Pandora's box of information. Be prepared for some hard-hitting questions, Coach. I've got a few up my sleeve that might come out of left field when we kick it off, but basically we will cover today a little bit more about where the program is at currently, talk a little bit about your own background, and we did have some questions that we wanted to cover. Three important questions that I think every single one of our viewers would like to kind of hear from you in terms of your expertise as a college coach on the ground in the USA. And I think it's important for a lot of our current clients and anyone who's jumped on board to this exclusive live chat to hear from yourself in regards to college recruiting and the whole system, college soccer system in the USA in general. So it's going to be interesting to gauge your insight in regards to that. And we'll also throughout the chat I'll take down some notes from some of our viewers, and we might take one or two of those questions towards the tail end and answer some of those questions that have been thrown at us during the chat. But look, again, very, very grateful to have you on board. I'm going to kick off proceedings with just a little bit of an overview, and I'll give you guys a little bit of a background as well, just so you guys understand my relationship with Mercyhurst. Started off probably around about 5-6 years ago now. One of our very first recruits to head over to Mercyhurst was a young guy by the name of Michael Blancardo. Everyone here in Sydney calls him Squeak. That was his nickname, but Mike had a pretty tenured career under then coach Nenad Vidakovic, and I spent some time actually in Erie. So when I flew over to New York on a trip to visit some of our clients, I actually ended up doing almost an 8-9 hour trip out to Erie, and spent time with Coach back then. Really great program, great little city up in Erie, Pennsylvania, and it was pretty eye-opening for me in terms of all the infrastructure and the history of the program and the school itself academically as well. And so I had some time out at Erie, Pennsylvania, but when I was in and around Erie, I also spent time with some of the competitors in the same conference, and it was interesting just to see the differentiators between all the different programs in and around Pennsylvania. But that was my first foray into dealing with Mercyhurst. We've had a very successful relationship since then, and obviously hoping to continue that relationship with Coach Osborne jumping on board. You will be hearing post this chat from Connor Wilkinson. Connor's been a tenured member of the Mercyhurst team over the last 3 to 4 years, standout student athlete, and has had nothing but a great experience at Mercyhurst. So it's really, really great to have, again, Coach Osborne on board to get what this new paradigm shift in the and the change of the guard will entail for the program. So we're going to get into that in a moment. But Mercyhurst, last season, 10 wins, 6 and 2 in the PSAC, Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission. I, Coach, typically use, and it's just for, I guess, from my perspective, maybe a bit of shits and giggles, right? But rankings are one of those things, right, where you can look at them, but it's sometimes an acquired taste. It's, people use the United coaches' ranking system. I sometimes look at the Bennett ranking system on a website called Hero Sports. They came up with the PSAC as being, out of 24 conferences in NCAA Division 2, as the 7th ranked conference in the whole of the US. I dare say top 10, so it's a very strong level of football across the conference, and we'll touch off on some of your competitors and obviously the level of play in the PSAC, which would be pretty interesting for a lot of our viewers to get an understanding about what the PSAC is and where you guys fit into the lay of the land. It was an interesting year, and some of the key things that come to my mind that I want to cover with you as you bring on the program kind of revolve around the progression that I've seen year upon year with Mercyhurst as a program, and where it kind of almost always cut off. It always stopped at a certain point. So if you look at last year, Gannon, who was a crosstown rival, if you look at the conference play last year, you hit it up against Gannon a couple of times. Most interestingly, you hit it up against Millersville in the semis, the PSAC. Millersville went on to win the PSAC championship, and both Gannon and Millersville went into the third round of the NCAA Division 2 tournament and dropped out. Here's an interesting thing that I see with Mercyhurst, because I see the level, see the quality and the calibre of the players. Obviously, this is a new day for the program, and obviously everyone's excited about you jumping on board. To me, Mercyhurst always seemed to be always close over the last few years, but never quite there to get it into that, the initial rounds of the tournament and progress through. So my question to you, Coach, and this is the hard-hitting question I have for you: what's going to change? What's Brian Osborne going to bring to Mercyhurst to see them progress, deeper into potentially, the tournament, the PSAC tournament, and then outside of that into potentially the national tournament from 2020 onward?
Well, I think first off, John, the thing for me to recognise is it's never due to one person. So it's never what's Ryan Osborne going to do. It's a collective for me. So it's what can we do as a team to push forward and to maybe right some of those wrongs for players in past years that maybe feel that they could have done better, and maybe won that PSAC tournament or gone to the national tournament. Taking the job, I'm very aware that we've not been to the national tournament since I think it was 2016 the last time, and I believe 2016 was the last time we won the conference tournament as well. As you say, Mercyhurst is a storied program with good tradition, which is one of the main factors that I wanted this job in the first place. I don't do this job to not see progression in people and to see progression in players. So the big thing for me is, how can I find ways to get that extra 5%? How can my staff, along with Coach Solomon, find ways to get that extra 5-10% out of guys, encompassing the collective and finding ways to beat the likes of Millersville and Gannon. And if we look a bit further afield, John, too, you've kind of said based on Bennett rankings where the PSAC is ranked. If you look at the national finalists in Division 2 over the last 3 seasons, you'll see 2 of them went to the University of Charleston, who Mercyhurst has typically gone head-to-head with, going back to my playing days at Charleston. And then you had Westchester, that's a PSAC school that knocked Charleston out in 2018, went to the national final and lost to Barry from the Sunshine State Conference. So it is a very, very good conference. It is a very strong super region now with the format change, and it's up to me and the guys collectively to kick on and to make sure that we're doing everything we can with the support of the alumni and the administration to get Mercyhurst back to where I believe it should be.
So do you feel like the change was a necessary change, and obviously from your perspective, it was just a new opportunity for yourself to be able to engage some young minds and young talent to, and we're going to get to your background, to be able to implement a new focus and a new shift in mentality with the program, or you feel like it's already got a good platform and you just want to build upon that platform a little bit further?
There's already a very good platform in place between Coach Nenad, some of the guys he left behind, and Coach Austin, who's still with me now, who I'm really enjoying working with. We've got a very good platform. We've got a very good foundation. I think it's now adding layers on top of that foundation. And maybe changing some things here and there. We all see the game differently. Culturally, we all would do things differently. So I think for me, it's about hopefully bringing in that cultural shift, and to use the University of Charleston a little bit, which is a big, was a big part of my life. It's about kind of trying to establish that culture of excellence and in everything we do. We want to have the best people, we want to have the best players, and we want to have people that are pushing to be everything they can in the classroom as well, in getting their degrees. So for us, I think it's the foundation's there. It's just adding to it, and getting everything we can out of our current players and everyone that's going to be with us in the future.
My question to you, and this is important for me because, again, I have a strong affiliation with the program over the years, and I've seen the fantastic output of a lot of our clients come through that process and go on to bigger and better things. Nenad is one of those interesting characters in the world of college soccer that I never expected to interact with, to be honest with you, because he always had look at his background and his pedigree as a footballer himself, back in the 60s and the 70s. Won a European Cup with FK Sarajevo. Just a very, very strong, solid mind, but a very, very different dynamic. And this is very, very interesting to me. Do you see that he's part of the Euro community, right? And do you still see, and look, just to give some clarity, if I say, for example, when Dale was a game, and I still remember Dale saying that even with Nenad at Mercyhurst, it was very, very much influenced by people like Nenad, and got a lot out of Nenad as well. With that kind of, I would dare say, a tenured individual in the kind of the Erie community, from a footballing or soccer perspective, do you still tap into that? Is that something that, or you feel like, okay, it's a hard start, we're starting again?
I think, for me, that's a little bit of both. I think you can always tap into experience in terms of, why do you feel it, went as it went? What do you think you did well? What do you think maybe you would do differently if you did it again? And then for me, I think it's also a fresh start for a lot of guys too. There's no doubt when you have the experience that Nenad's got, whether it's been an assistant when Dale was there and, part of the Final Four team many years ago, or whether it's as head coach, there's no way you get that kind of experience if you don't know what you're doing. So I think it's definitely something you can tap into. Nenad's not somebody I've ran into in town since I've been in Erie, to be honest. It's been a bit of a whirlwind with getting the job moving pretty quickly, COVID-19 and everything else. But I think one of the benefits I have is, while we do have a fresh start, I think one of the benefits is Coach Austin is still on staff, and he was there under Nenad as well. So you kind of have that bridge between, the players in the old regime and the players now as well. So I think that's definitely a good resource that I can tap into and, to utilise. But at the same time, the guys need to know that listen, we all know how it goes, John. Not, one person's gold is another person's bronze when it comes to players. It really just depends. It's a game of opinions. Hopefully, from this point forward, we get more of those opinions right than we do wrong, and more wins than we do losses. So I think that's all we can hope for moving forward.
Well, I'm barracking for you, Coach, because I'll let you know again that Mercyhurst is a very it's an historical program for our company as well, right? In essence, that we had so much success come through. So I'm really excited to hear that. I'm excited that you tapped into that and you actually bridged across that, the old firm, new firm, but there's still that, I guess that bridge back into the platform, if you will. I guess whatever net I've created and whomever he influenced, and obviously Austin's an amazing guy. Say hello to him for me when you see him. Austin obviously is working alongside you to be able to, continue to mould and create a standout program. So I'm very excited. So we're going to move on to a little bit more information, and thanks for uncovering a lot of that to kick off the discussion. But I want to find out a little bit more about Ryan Osborne. Who is Ryan Osborne? Where did things begin with Ryan back when he was a younger lad growing up in the UK? And a little bit about your playing experience whilst over there. It's really interesting for me to see that bridge as well, for a lot of the coaches in the league again, their experiences growing up and how they've implemented it into their careers in the USA. And then we'll cover off some of the other key questions that we wanted to cover off with some of our viewers. But tell me more about Ryan.
Oh wow! Okay, so from Wakefield, England, which is just outside Leeds, came to the US when I was 19 in 2009. Was very fortunate to get to the University of Charleston, where I played under Chad Dernberger, who's now at Dartmouth, and Chris Grassi, who's now the head coach at Marshall. And while I was there playing under them two, it was really a privilege. It was really a privilege. I mean, there was a lot of hard work went off, but I think there were a lot of fundamentals, that I got to learn, got to experience firsthand in terms of team culture, in terms of tactics, in terms of the right way to run a football team. And the right way, more so, to run a college soccer program. Charleston was at two very different times. I mean, when Chad was there, my first 2 years, it was kind of, again, a bit of a rebuild. To be honest with you, a rebuild of a historically strong program that had been to Final Fours in the past, but not quite made it over that hurdle of winning a national title. And then Chris came in when Chad left to go to Penn State, and it was a case of kind of adding and taking it further, and Chris definitely did that. He took the team to 2 national finals. Unfortunately, he didn't win one as head coach, but then he left the platform for Dan. Congratulations to Dan, by the way, who's at WVU now, who managed to bring 2 national championships to the Alta Mater. So it's good. It's good. I feel very fortunate to be, to have played under 2 great coaches and to have been at a program like Charleston, where I got 2 degrees, and it just led its way into coaching. I was a graduate assistant at Charleston, got a lot of good advice, especially from Chris Grassi. Then kind of moved into coaching from there. Spent 2 years at Mercyhurst College as the first assistant down there under Joe Bergen, who's a top guy. I can't speak highly enough of Joe as a person and a coach. Then spent the last 4 years prior to Mercyhurst at Notre Dame College in Cleveland, where luckily for us we got to play against Charleston every year, which was tough. Yeah, couldn't escape. So I was a bit of a traitor there for a while, but that's okay. I had 4 great years at Notre Dame, coached some great guys, worked with Carl Nolan, who was really good to me as well. Learned a lot from Carl, and then it was just a case of I coached a couple of years in the NPSL with Cleveland Soccer Club. Had a good level of success, especially the second year. Going to the Final Four in the NPSL, and I just felt like it was time, if the right opportunity came around, to be a head coach at the college level. And then this is where we lead ourselves to now, John. I mean, that's pretty much a quick version of where we're at.
the quick version, but it's interesting that you say that because you covered off a few bits and pieces. I'll go back to the beginning again. Grew up in Wakefield. Should have been a Leeds United fan, but from what I've read,
yeah, I should have been a Leeds United fan.
You're a Newcastle United fan. How did that end up happening?
Yeah, bad news. I don't know. I started off as a Spurs fan, to be honest with you. My cousin on my mum's side was a Spurs fan. And I think for whatever reason I fell in love with Newcastle. I'm pretty sure it was Alan Shearer, and then Bobby Robson, and the rest was history. Dad didn't really support a team. He was fond of Leeds, but he wasn't like a diehard fan of any team. So just kind of got to make my own choice, and then me and my brother ended up supporting Newcastle, and yeah, that was that.
Did you play? Obviously, you came up through the ranks over there as well. Did you play at an academy level across any of the bigger clubs? What was your background? Not a
big club, but my brother played for Barnsley for about 7 years, and then I played for Barnsley from the age of 13 to 15. Got released when I was 15, and then kind of just went back to local league football. And bounced around northern counties like semi-pro men's league for a couple of years, and then I had a gap year, worked in a factory. To be honest with you, I was scanning barcodes, and I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to go to university in England, and kept playing for during my gap year, and then came out to the States and never looked back since then. So it's been a heck of a ride. It's been a heck of a ride, but it keeps on going, and it keeps going on nicely. So we just keep working away.
Keeps on evolving, doesn't it? So that's an amazing thing that your time, and you've mentioned a few amazing coaches. I've had the pleasure of interacting with them over the years. So Dan, did you play with Dan under Chris? And by the way, for our viewers, Chris Grassi is the head coach of Marshall University, NCAA Division 1, former coach of the University of Charleston, West Virginia. It just seems like such a hub, like a place where, University of Charleston, West Virginia is almost like this hub, almost an anomaly of sorts in the football landscape. And the reason being is that from the outside in, a lot of kids might be watching, parents, players or otherwise, would not understand the levels between D1, D2, D3, so automatically they assume that a Division 2 school is not as good as a Division 1 school. We kind of covered all that off in the previous chat that we had with Daniel, and we won't delve too much into what the levels are or otherwise, but it almost seems like such a hub of talent that comes through from whether it be coaching or playing wise from the University of Charleston, West Virginia, that kind of proliferates out into the world of college soccer. At least that's what I'm seeing, because I've now interviewed yourself there. Probably have to get Chris on the call as well. But it's a very, very interesting thing for me. So what makes it so special? What do you think that that University of Charleston environment, why was it so special? And what did you take away with that as you transition into coaching roles like Notre Dame? So your experience as a player in the University of Charleston, West Virginia, what was that like?
I think for me the thing that sets it apart, and the school were great. The school were great, and they did right by me, and I did a great experience there. But I think what made my athletic experience was the two coaches that I played for. To be honest with you, I had great relationships with both of them. I always knew where I stood. It was always very transparent. It was always very honest. The standards were always set, and that was always the standard. And then it was, they were both good recruiters, and they're both good people. Aside of being good coaches, they had a human aspect that I valued in both of them. To be honest with you, I'm still quite close to both of them to this day. So I think if there's one thing that I'd take, beyond football, it's just the transparency and the honesty with your players, and that ability to have a personal relationship with them that isn't, solely based around football, because there is life after football, as important as football is. And soccer's only part of your journey and part of your experience while you're over here in the US.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you hit off on a key point there, that there's a lot more to it, and I always talk to our clients about the fact that, football is fickle. You might only have a very short period of time where you enjoy it, at whatever level you play at, but then, it comes and it goes. Hopefully you get old enough, over 35s and over 45s, and your legs can still carry you, but, at some kind of level, an elite level of football, it's only going to take you so far, and obviously from the perspective of being able to continue your studies, that's what makes the US pathway such a unique pathway. So it's good that you tapped on the fact that your experience was far more than just football, right? Because you saw it in England, right? You've seen it in England, right? And then I experienced it as a younger lad. I spent time at Bury. I spent time down in the lower leagues at Southern United. And I just saw how brutal it was, even in the conference. Right? When you start talking about kind of like, they could be like the 6th or 7th division. And I remember rocking up to training at Southern United. This is well before the big pie-eating, goalkeeping days. Most of the guys there were like ex-Chelsea guys, guys that played for some big EPL clubs over the years. So a lot of kids, when I hear them talk about, well, why the US when I could go potentially, to Europe, I don't think they understand the level, right? And I don't think they might see it on TV and assume that, and it's a good thing to have. I can reach for the stars and go play for some big team in Europe. But that's 1%, and we'll get on to your time at Cleveland SC in a moment. But even in the US, and the NCAA published statistics yearly where basically they show the amount of student athletes that actually gain a professional contract, right, in any sport. And typically in soccer, you're talking about at the very best, maybe 1% of the student athletes that play gain a professional contract. Out of that 1% that gain a professional contract, the lifespan of that professional contract can be anywhere between 1 and, if you're very lucky, 4 years, right? And then it's done. So what do you have to fall back on? Which is key to me, right? So when you say you're at education, you finished 2 degrees, which is amazing, an amazing effort unto itself. But that's the unique environment in the US, right? That a lot of these kids don't see, and why so many international students from all around the world. Literally, I'll get off this call with you. I'll probably have several kids send me notes about, hey, I'm in Brazil, or I'm in the UK, or I'm in wherever, and I want to go to the US. Right, so it is becoming saturated with a lot of international student athletes, and also a lot of international coaches. So it's good that you touched upon that. But so you spent some time in the NPSL as the head coach at Cleveland FC. You mentioned something that resonates with me in terms of the level you hit it up against the likes of Detroit FC and one and all, whoever's on the call today. If you do spend some time and you want to explore what the semi-professional / professional system looks like in the USA, definitely look at those kinds of franchises. Obviously, Coach was the head coach at Cleveland SC, but they ended up against the likes of Detroit City FC. And I know from my very good friend Matt Barnes, when he took Midland Soccer's FC in Texas all the way through to the national tournament. They hit it up against the Troy City FC. Tremendous crowd. Like the way that club was run. And a lot of kids here locally in Australia might say to me, hey, well, what's the Scene Pro setup look like? And does it equate to, our level up here, say the National Premier League here in Sydney or across Australia? And I always tell them that the better run franchises, if you're lucky enough to play with them, are probably ahead above, any of the National Premier League teams here in Australia in terms of infrastructure, in terms of support, in terms of the amount of money that can get thrown into some of those clubs themselves as well, right? So from your perspective, one of the key questions that I had was your time as a head coach at Cleveland City SC. What were the benefits, or what do you think are the benefits for a student athlete to be able to play, summer soccer in the NPSL or now the USL 2 in the semi-pro leagues during the summer? What are some of the benefits there? And just give me some of your background as to how you ended up at Cleveland SC and that experience as well, so you can kind of uncover that for some of our clients and some of the kids who are and players and parents who are listening in today.
Okay, so we used to have a franchise, an NPSL franchise in Cleveland called AFC Cleveland. In 2016, I believe it was, they won the national title. In 2017, the franchise went bankrupt, and in April of 2018, I got a phone call, probably March of 2018, I got a phone call from Sam Siebert, the owner of Cleveland Soccer Club, which we're going to take over, having a franchise in Cleveland. And he goes, would you like to meet to talk about becoming the head coach? So thinking on our season started in May, we sat down probably towards the end of March, and ironed a few things out, and I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. I was thinking it's a way to improve my resume. It's a way to kind of push on and have a different experience on my resume. At that point, I'd done college and I'd done club stuff. But for me, I like to take myself out of my comfort zone, and I like to put myself in an environment that's going to challenge me. I knew I could get the call, or I was hopeful I could get the call back of the AFC Cleveland guys. Luckily in Cleveland, it was quite a diverse city, so we'd get a lot of guys that, men that wanted to play. And when I say men, I'm talking guys from the age of 22 to like 28. So we're lucky enough to get that call back, and then we just added some pieces. Local college guys, typically with ties to the Cleveland area, or guys that had played collegiate soccer in Cleveland or close by. So we put that team together pretty sharpish. We ended up getting to the final 16 of the NPSL that season. We lost to Ann Arbor, who were a very, very good team. I think they went on to have 2 to 3 lads from that Ann Arbor team signed professionally after the season. And then we got to 2019 season, and I think it hurt a lot of the guys. So we returned a big amount of the team from the previous year, from 2018. And then it was just a case of, can we do things better? So we added some good guys. We didn't change a great deal about our training. Fitness was massively key for us. And if you look at the results from the 2019 season, you'll see that we had a 2-game blip. We lost to the Erie Commodores at home. I think it was 3-1 that night. We was absolutely fuming. One of our guys got a red card that he should never have got. That happens. That's life. That's football. And then it was a case of, we went to Rochester and we played the Rochester Rhinos, and we were all over them. We missed a penalty. We've hit posts, we've hit crossbars, we've hit the goalkeeper in every position on his body. So it was just a case of we lost 2 on the bounce, and we said as a group at that point, listen, we're not losing again, and we knew what we had to do to finish out, the conference, the regular season conference champions, and we managed to do it. We didn't lose until we lost in the national semi-final at that point to Miami FC, that were a team of fully paid professionals. Like you said, John, we went to Detroit, so the fitness aspect to me played a huge key. Not only did we have good players and a good setup behind the scenes, we had players that were really hungry. We had players that were fit, and we had players that would run through walls for each other. We were down 3-1 against Rochester in the regional semi-final. 10 minutes to play. I looked over at our owner, and I remember saying to him, I said, "Listen, I'm really sorry. I thought I could win with this group of guys." And within 5 minutes, we made a sub. We brought somebody else on, and we scored 2 goals. We went to overtime, and we ended up winning 6-4. After 120 minutes of football. 2 days later, we play Detroit City. We're 2-0 down at half-time. Get it back to 2-2. We tell the guys at half-time, listen, we've got a plan B. Stick with plan A. Plan B, if it needs to be kind of thrown out there and, we need to change things, we will. But we don't think we'll need to. So we didn't hit the panic button at half-time, and the guys came out and scored 2 goals in 15 minutes. We played 10 versus 10 for probably, we ended up winning on penalty kicks. So, we were 2-0 down, got back to 2-2, and again played 120 minutes of football to then beat Detroit in Detroit in front of 5,500 fans on penalty kicks. It was quite the experience, and some of the chants that they were saying about Cleveland, I won't repeat, John, but Detroit and Cleveland, they're very similar, but they don't like each other too much. So it was extremely, it was a really, really special experience. And then going back to your earlier question, I mean, to me, it's, if I have one regret, I played 1 season at PDL, which is now USL2, with actually Stratton Smee for Chris Grassi, which was quite the midfield. The 3 of us, that was all right. So we did well then as well. It was a special time, and I think the benefit of it is, you go to different areas, you make new relationships, you deal with different coaches. And to me, it's repetition, and it's about gaining that experience, and again having that mindset of being ready to play at any time. It's very easy to go home over summer, get a part-time job and just work and forget about football. But I think this is an experience that's very unique, and it's one where you can take it wherever you want to take it. And one thing that I'm very, fortunate and thankful for is football has really opened up the world to me. In terms of the people I coach on a daily basis, the people I've played with, the different types of football that you'll see, the way a South African will play the game compared to a Brazilian are different. The way the English defend compared to the Italians are different. So it's really been it's really kind of made me a citizen of the world, I guess I would say. It's been great to play with different, and for me, lads are coming across, John, between the age of 18 and 24. Why wouldn't you play in the summer? Because you said it earlier, you can't play forever, and the majority of us won't play forever. And if there's one regret I do have from a playing standpoint, it's that I didn't play for longer.
Yeah, and I think you touched on so many great points there. I think that over the years, and the way that we transitioned the business was to say, hey guys, there is a platform. So there are those kids that probably never want to think about playing during their summer. They're more focused on their study and they just want to play their collegiate season. But the USL2 and the NPSL and other semi-pro kind of leagues that have been developed have really provided for those who have taken the plunge to jump into the semi-professional ranks. Our clients specifically have had nothing but an amazing experience all the way throughout. I've seen it with, I guess, kids like Connor who come through programs like Mercyhurst, and now that was one level. He hasn't played in the summer from what I understand, but I'll get onto him post our call. But I've seen every single one of our kids use it as a platform to be looked at potentially by even larger pro clubs, and it does provide that kind of platform, because if you are playing for franchises like Cleveland SC, if you are playing for the Detroit Cities of the semi-pro game in the US, it is a very, very resounding a platform to be able to build over your collegiate playing career, to be looked at by professional clubs, if that's what you aspire to do. So, we had a few people just join us, and one and all just covered off a whole bunch of information with the current head coach, the new head coach of Mercyhurst University, NCAA Division 2, Mr. Ryan Osborne. Ryan's uncovered a lot of information about his own playing background coming up, and we've delved into a little bit about Mercyhurst's new transition, full coach into the program, and also just now covered off some information about the benefits of a student athlete playing in the summer leagues. So back to the dialogue, Coach. You covered off so many things. One thing that I wanted to cover off there, I'm also very conscious of time, so I'm trying to get off the other two questions in a moment, but this is a really important thing for some of our own clients and some of our viewers to be able to understand the differentiator between summer soccer and the collegiate game. And from your experience on both sides of the fence, whether it be a player or obviously as a coach as well, what do you see are the differences between playing collegiate soccer standalone or playing collegiate soccer and mixing in that summer soccer aspect of the US kind of soccer system as a whole? What are the difference in coaching styles? What are the difference in levels? And give us some kind of clarity around that from, I guess, a player and being a coach as well.
I think definitely playing summer, especially in the NPSL, I think you'll definitely see a wider variety of age from the players that play. I mean, you'll have guys that are just local guys that are a little bit older that still love the game, that are able to play and work it around work commitments. Obviously, college-wise, you're pretty limited in terms of what age. I think one of the challenges for me coaching in the summer, and some of the adaptations I had to make from a coaching standpoint, was it gets so hot here in the summer. So you have to be very conscious of what type of style you're playing at times. You have to be conscious of, like, a Cleveland Soccer Club. Miami FC, we played in the national semi-final. They were training every day. We trained twice a week because that's what we had. I mean, we were a true amateur team. And a lot of, some franchises train every day. Some franchises multiple times a week. It really just depends where you go. I can tell you this much, John. I think when I've been around players that have played Summer League, I can go back to an example of two lads at Notre Dame that I coached with, two centre-backs, one Italian, one English. One of them played down at Greenville in South Carolina, and one of them played for Seacoast Phantoms. And the fall after they came back from playing Summer League, they were both terrific that season. I mean, to a new level. They looked physically fitter. They looked more confident in what they were doing. I think it's a bit like riding a bike. The more you do it, the more confident you become in your craft. And I think that's a huge thing for me with summer. I've tried to push that with some of the Mercyhurst guys this year, and it'll definitely be something that's a part of the program moving forward. Recommending guys to go and play summer ball, because it helps. It's important. It puts you in. If you've got ambitions to play beyond college, it helps you kind of get in the on the radar of people. And even if you don't, and you just want to have the best 4-year collegiate experience that you can have, I think playing during the summer can add to that experience. First off, you can meet new people, see a different part of the country, but it can also improve your performance leading into the fall. And to me, and I say this to our guys all the time, if you're going to be putting the time in to be a collegiate athlete, which is, it is a time commitment, there's no doubt about it, then why not be the best you can be?
Absolutely.
You've got 4 years at this. You've got 4 years, and it is a privilege to play. So make the most of the experience you can.
And that's certainly, you've covered off so many great points there for everyone to kind of leverage if they do consider going down that pathway of summer leagues in the US. And I've certainly seen the benefit of our clients playing in those summer leagues. They've become much more complete kind of players when you talk about being able to play at the collegiate level as well, marrying up, the summer league experience and then heading back from fall to kick off a season in the collegiate system. They're leveling up little by little every single year once they take the time to invest in that kind of experience. So it's great that you covered that off. Very conscious of time, so we're going to get through these next two questions. But in terms of this new transition for Mercyhurst, and obviously you coming on board, one of the important factors that I see for yourself as a coach is, all right, I'm bringing on a crop of tenured players who have played with the program for quite a number of years. I'm also going into a new direction and evolving the program as well. When you bring on new players for this season and beyond, what do you think you need from those players to help you to continue that momentum and to help, continue to grow the program in the direction that you want to grow it? So if I'm a new student athlete coming from an international market, what would you expect from me as a student athlete, both as a student and as an athlete at Mercyhurst, to be able to get you to the goal that you're trying to achieve with the program?
I think first off, you've got to be hungry. It is a unique experience, like we've touched on. You have to be hungry to do well. Not just on the pitch, but on the academic side as well. It is a twofold experience. You can't have one without the other. That's the nature of the beast. So I think you have to be hungry. You have to want it a lot. You have to kind of want to hit the ground running. Unfortunately, there's players that I've come across in the past that have kind of the US has kind of been a destination rather than an opportunity to improve themselves. It's been a bit of a holiday. It's been a bit of a vacation, which to me that's not how it is. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I think players should be the same way. So I think it's having that passion, having that intensity, having that desire to be the best that can be in all phases of the life. And it is difficult. It is difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. I am demanding. Like I'm sure a lot of other college coaches are, because you don't get into this job if you don't want to win, right? So I am demanding, but at the same time, I do believe it'll be worth it. I believe it'll be worth it in terms of your character development, in terms of helping you mature as a person, and in terms of the life experiences that you'll have on this adventure. I think it's special. I personally, and granted, you'll probably think, well, come on, Ozzy, you coach college soccer, of course you're going to say this. This might have been the best adventure that I've been on, in terms of it opened up so many doors for me, and so many new adventures, and meeting so many different people, and lucky enough to lift trophies and experience just all the greatness of college athletics and college academics as well. So I think it's about hunger. It's about understanding what the experience is, and it's about trying to maximise what you are. I try not to go off track too much, John, but when I was growing up in England, I had no idea what lifting weights were. I just had this conversation with my brother the other day. Conditioning, sure, I could run all day, but when it comes to lifting weights, at Mercyhurst we've got 2, strength and conditioning, coaches on staff who are great at what they do. I've got no idea about some of that stuff. I'm slowly learning, I'm slowly picking it up, but at 18, 19 years of age, I didn't know what I was doing. I don't even know that football clubs in England, when I was at the academy, I don't even know that they were, putting you on a regimented strength and conditioning program. So I think just the way it's changed, and I think the US system does have a lot of benefits that, slowly other countries are starting to catch up to. But I think it really is an experience that will kind of, make you grow all the way around.
I think you covered off so many great points in regard to that. Definitely, that transition that a lot of kids don't see. I always say to our student athletes and people that jump on board, look, I'm going to get you in touch with a whole bunch of different coaches who might be looking for you to fulfill their roster requirements for a particular year. But I always also ask them to make sure that they potentially hop on a plane with their parents or otherwise and go out and visit programs themselves and make sure that they can actually see firsthand, and also potentially at Division 2 level, all these kids can jump on the field and actually have a kick with some of the teams and spend some time overnight with the program and meet the coaches. And it's a very, very fundamental aspect of what we do in terms of guiding our student athletes down that pathway of really making the right choice. But when they're there, 10 times out of 10, 100%, they come back and say, amazing, like facilities, infrastructure, the amount of strength and conditioning coaches, everything that you have in a professional environment, irrespective of division, for the most part, you're going to find in the college athletics landscape, right? So, and you won't find it at clubs here. I know me growing up, I played, at a professional youth level, in Sydney, and Sydney United, Marconi, big clubs back then. I remember having a gym room in one of the clubs didn't even have a gym room. The other club had a gym room. It was all rusty. No one used it. So when you say that, a lot of kids don't understand that the game has changed, and you have to be powerful, you have to be strong, especially in the US game. They're going to run you down. You're not going to have too much time on the ball. It's all about athleticism for the most part. The beauty of it is, from coaches like yourself and other coaches who are coming in from different markets, they're also bringing in that beautiful technical aspect of the game that people want to be a part of. So, that pass move, for the most part, rather than that long ball game that's typically played or was historically played in the collegiate market for many, many years. So it's good that you covered off a lot of that. I'm going to ask you a question, probably our last question before we jump off, but we talked about the Pennsylvania State Athletic Commission conference, and Mercyhurst, some historic teams, Gannon, a whole bunch of really great teams to play within the conference. What do you see are the strengths of the PSAC, and what are the strategies that you put in place now as a coach leading up into the new season and beyond to help get the most out of the student athletes that you bring on board and those who have been part of the program over the last few years?
I think the PSAC is one of those conferences that it's very different from top to bottom, really. I think you'll see a lot of different styles. You'll see a lot of different, roster makeups. You've got some that are, predominantly American. You've got some that are a mixture of both. You've got some that are heavily international. So you see a lot of different challenges on any given day. So I think the key for me, and I've tried to stress this to the guys, is we have to be ready to adapt. We can have our philosophies, we can have our principles, but we can't be naive, and we can't be, not willing to adapt if the game calls for that. I have a certain philosophy and a certain set of principles how I want to play, but I think sometimes you have to do what you need to do to win. So I think it's that idea to be open, to be coachable, and to just take responsibility sometimes. I mean, there's some good teams. I mean, Gannon were terrific this season. As much as it pains me to say that, in my new role, but Gannon had a great season. They've got a very good team. Westchester have historically done well over the last few years. Millersville have been in the national tournament for a number of years consecutively. Very experienced coach, and that's not to mention that the other teams in the conference. I mean, on any given day, I feel like anybody in the PSAC can turn anyone else over.
That's awesome. That's an interesting thing.
It's somewhat worrying because you have to be on top of your game all the time, but at the same time, I feel like if that's what it takes to win, I wouldn't want it any other way. I'd want to have to fight and scrap and be at our best every single game to find a way to win, as opposed to knowing that you've got some toffee games where basically you can turn up and you're going to win by 4 or 5. I think for the most part the PSAC is very on any given day. So I think that's good. That's a challenge I'm looking forward to. I think that'll hopefully bring the best out of me and the guys as we move forward. And then in terms of putting strategies in place, John, I mean we have to be better prepared in every single aspect. We lost 6 games last year. We tied 2, and we didn't find a way to make a final, win a final, or get to a national tournament, which I think has to start being the minimum standards again for this program. And sure, that does put pressure on me a little bit, but I think with the tradition we have and with the facilities we have and some of the players I know we'll be bringing in, I do think that the standards have to be pushed up. And the guys know that. The guys know that in terms of what we've done culturally as a team since I've arrived in January with Coach Austin, and we want to be the best we can be in every part. So hopefully, as we progress through to August. Now, we can start to see the best of the program moving forward again. Because my lasting memories of Mercyhurst as a player was very, very good teams that just refused to be beaten and had some very, very special individual talents. And hopefully we can get back to that. Been the hardest working team. Not giving up cheap goals and been exciting to watch. I think that's what we want to be.
I think you covered off so many interesting points there, and this is something that I look towards when we're talking to our own clients who might be engaged in different programs across the US in many different conferences. Really, really interesting that you did mention from top to toe, and this is something that always resonated with me with the PSAC, top to toe. It's a grind, and if you want to better yourself as a footballer, the expectations that some of these kids have is, I might be a freshman and I want to be in a situation where I impact the program and I'm going to be able to play at a good standard. Certainly the PSAC's a great standard. From top to toe, you have nationally ranked programs in and out of the national rankings. So, look, Coach, you've covered off so much. We've literally got about 20 seconds left before this shuts down. I wanted